Now, with a couple weeks into Divine Sea meta, I am enjoying one particular deck in general, and as you can see it on this screen, it is the one and only Krysrain herself. She's probably one of the most fun archetypes that I've had. Let's get into a deck list. Then we can kind of work out some changes, some cool little choices that I went with that maybe you might not like, you may like. It's completely up to you. So, first things first, we are playing 4 copies of Krysrain in our build. In our right line, we are playing the Astrocyte package over the Gem package currently, because the meta right now is shaping up to be a little bit more aggressive and to play into certain archetypes that can tend to outgrind your opponent early and to keep parity with those decks and to create a very aggressive slant. Since this deck doesn't have any form of removal, one of the best ways to do that is try to commit an early hand, push with that pressure, bounce the cards back to your hand in combination of cards like Yuika, especially with the Loving Pink Franche, gives you ways of being able to play that early game very aggressively. Then we play Nanami as the Astrocyte, another Astrocyte unit that we're running, so then we can possibly discard our PGs in the early game, bounce them back with Kiora and or Franche. So then actually almost any of the grade ones in our deck become discardable, which makes it a pseudo Vashablamp, a pseudo Prisya. It gives you ways of being able to utilize that. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but we're gonna get through some of them that makes more sense. We're playing 1 copy of Adelaide. There's a cool little nifty combo in combination of this. So in case you draw into your OT and you have this as a card, you can launch close to up to 7 attacks with Krysrain before you even do your. You can launch about 3. Let me see. Attack with Rear, attack with Adeline, bind. At the end of battle, bind, bounce, boost, call. So you can do about 4 attacks before your Vanguard swings, which is hefty. So you can do close to about 6 attacks. 6 to 7 attacks already. Spooky stuff. In combination with her and Krysrain is the match made in heaven. We're not playing more copies of it. You can opt to play more copies if you want to by reducing some copies. Any of the copy of Vashablamp, any of the Yuikas, or any of your grade 1s. I don't choose to do so, but it's entirely up to you. And of course, Loving Pink Franchette. She is the most awesome card that came out of DZO2. Love her to death. Love playing her in all facets. She gives you a way of being able to play an early game if she's targeted by your Krysrain going first. She gives you a very hefty 30k rear guard. Swinging to your opponent's offenses is super devastating. Then we also have Innocent Orange Anis. She isn't as important as she used to be anymore in your opening hand, but she is a very good handy combo piece that can extend you into your other resources or utility pieces that you'll need. And of course, we are playing the cycle card combination of Dazzle, Bubble, Paradise, Prisya. Kind of last one, drawing a card or discarding to draw a card is always handy. Having any of these cycles in your hand is just so good right now. You tend to go down on hand very quickly as Krysrain, and the only way that you can really farm utility in hands and resources is using the Franchette and Yuika package of being able to bounce any of your combo pieces or guard. Sometimes you even want to commit like triggers to the board that can allow you to get extra resources to block your opponent's cards. And then now we are heading off into the grade 1s, which is the Cynical Composer Raum. She's the guard restrict for Krysrain, which does force your opponent to either guard with a PG or they have to guard with 3 different grades. 3 different grades at the same time. It's very tricky with the ruling with it, so be careful, don't get caught unawares. So that can happen. And then 4 copies of Yuika. I'm running more copies of Yuika than I am of any of the other cards that I could possibly run her at 3-4. She is a very important piece of being able to protect yourselves against certain matchups like Blangmeyer, like the Varga matchup, like some some players sometimes also like to attack into your franchette, which can make it a little bit awkward, especially if you try to guard some of your pieces, or if you're like you wanted to keep a beater. She's pretty important to protect some of your other units that you put in front of her. Then you also have the rat itself, Rainbow Jeweled Beast, Oliparius. It allows you to guard or get a backup persona right from your drop zone. Very good card. You don't have to run it though. Entirely up to you. I like running it because it's an extra layer of guard that I can use. And then we are obviously running different named perfect guards, since she does require different names, so it does look very large and spread out, but trust me, it makes a whole lot of sense since she requires very specifically different named units, so sort of like a Highlander unit. Then there is 3 copies of Eileen, being able to stack your deck, find pieces, dig for triggers, stuff like that allows you to play very aggressively, fast and loose into certain matchups, of course. Then we are running draws instead of fronts, because a lot of your rear guards tend to be bounced before your Vanguard attacks, so it ends up wasting your front trigger. But I haven't found a reason to cut this as yet, so if you guys find better experiences with getting front triggers off rather than draw triggers than me, I like being able to just draw into pieces, drawing into extra shield. I prefer that overall. And then we're also running, I think, 8 crit. Of course, 4 healed. As you notice, none of these triggers, except for your draw triggers, have effects on them, because in the early game on your grade 2 turn, you don't really need a whole lot of soul. The only unit that uses a whole lot of soul really is like Yuika a couple of times, maybe Avlasha Blanc, maybe once or twice, and maybe this is like once in the Blue Moon. The only unit that really uses any soul is Yuika, and you can keep that up by persona writing a couple times. It's very easy, hardly an inconvenience. And then we are running the lyrical overtrigger over the blue overtrigger, or the red, or the purple, or the yellow. Right now it's entirely up to you, whatever one you feel most in tuned with. I like the lyrical OT because it makes a lot of your columns a lot more threatening. Of course, it is a little bit of a non-bow with Krysrain, since it fixes the unit to the specific power of your Vanguard, so it doesn't gain the extra plus 10k, but it does, like, if you happen to hit like Anis, and then Anis calls a Franchette or any of your other grade 2s that you might end up hitting, it allows them to hit for 35 or 30k or possibly more, depending on what other unit you could probably secure with it. It allows you to just do more damage early, and hitting on your first grade 1 turn, 2 turn, or 3 turn allows you to be able to push a lot of additional pressure, because of course, remember, you don't you don't have any way to retire their stuff. You can only force them to guard, and that's the only way you really. It's a beatdown strategy that I'm very much a fan of, and my Gratias Gradale is the one order that we're running in the deck outside of the Elementaria. Is you could replace this with Angel Ladder if you really want to protect your cards against like other weird and annoying matchups like Blankmire, Nubatama, etc. I feel like this is very good into Blank. I feel like it's very good into Nubatama. You don't really give them a whole lot of resources to poke around with or to attack you with. You could sort of eat some damage, and you could push some pressure. And especially with the recent limited list that most locals are currently running with, I feel like this deck gets a little better. Every single set, it gets a little better with new lyrical support. Some cards work better with it. So I hope you guys enjoy this list. Have some fun with it. If you guys did not agree with a lot of the ratios or the deck list overall, that's fine. That's okay. Have fun with it for the people who ended up wanting to try this out. It's a very, very fun deck. And have a nice day. Be awesome, stay awesome, good games. Have some good games.